Adjusted to 2023's economy, the annual college tuition cost went up by 1,000% from 1960 to 2020. And it continues to rise unproportionately to inflation, making it increasingly unaffordable for minorities. With a nationwide total of $1.8 trillion, college debt is the second highest source of debt for Americans, which has increased by 130% since 2009. In addition to this, America is facing a crisis of increasing number of college dropouts, which approximately 40% of students are dropping out every year. And the leading cause of this phenomenon is financial concerns, with 40% of dropouts indicating it as the primary reason. But when we look further into the data, we can see how the numbers are against minorities. According to the 2020 census, the percentage of adults over 25 with a bachelor's degree consisted of 59.3% of the Asian population, 41.8% of the white population, 27.6% of the black population, and 20.9% of the Hispanic population, which clearly portrays a steep decline for blacks and Hispanics. This data can be explained by the distribution of income. The median income for an Asian household was $108,000 in 2022, $81,000 for whites, $62,000 for Hispanics, and $52,000 for blacks, which again shows blacks and Hispanics lagging behind. But this isn't all. This gap will further increase in the years to come if there is not a solution due to the Supreme Court's decision ending affirmative action in 2023, which supported admission of minorities. And the evidence of this trend to come is clear. Prior to the decision in 2023, 9 states had already overturned affirmative action, and their result was a significant decrease in admissions for Hispanics and black students. And another study, looking specifically at California, indicated that in addition to this, it also weakened the odds of these minorities finishing college, going to graduate school, and earning a higher salary. It is evident that this is a problem regarding meritocracy. When the determining acceptance, colleges emphasize academic achievement and background is disregarded. They do not consider that higher income students will inevitably outperform lower income students, as they simply have a greater access to resources than they do. This results in more higher income students being admitted to college over lower income students, which consequently leads to the solidifying of the gap between the two, as the ones who went to college go on to attain better paying jobs, while the ones who didn't conform to minimum wage jobs. This ultimately leads to a transgenerational cycle of poverty and wealth, where social mobility is near impossible, and their root is in inequality in access to education. Data from the 2020 census indicates that people with only a high school diploma earn an average of $51,000. People with some college education or associate's degree earn an average of $68,000, and people with a bachelor's degree or more earn an average of $118,000. This demonstrates that more education results in a higher pay. That is why higher education should be made available to everyone. Additional data to support this is the comparison of the distribution of the population across the U.S. based on race and the distribution of the poverty population. The census demonstrates that their share in both is not proportional, as Hispanics, blacks, and Native Americans share a greater percentage of the poverty population than they do of the population as a whole, while white and Asians share less. This also demonstrates the inequality of outcome and opportunity in the U.S., which we can take a closer look with sociology. Today's society can be exemplified by conflict theory by Karl Marx. We live in a perpetual conflict state due to competition, where the lower income class are the proletariat, the oppressed, and the wealthiest few are the bourgeoisie, supported by the governmental elite, the oppressors. But these two groups aren't the only competing against each other, because competition also exists individually amongst these groups. And as the data has shown, minorities lose every time. And the few minorities that do make it to the competitive professional world are prevented from advancing, as there exists a glass ceiling that they cannot overcome. This inequality in the US is so deep ingrained in the government and society that most of the time, their social standing is determined by the social standing of their parents. This is known as ascribed status. And more than that, society makes sure that this status stays the same. An example of this is labeling theory, which describes that people become deviants because of the labels imposed on them by society. This idea is pushed with the cultural deviance theory and the differential association theory, which describes that the environment of the individual and the people they interact with is what determines deviance. This is all simplified with Merton's strain theory, which explains that groups that undergo strain resort to deviance as it is the only way to cope with it. All of this results in a self-fulfilling prophecy as society shapes the individual in such a way, imposing their beliefs on them and leading them down a specific path, that eventually the individual acts in accordance to it, making the belief of the society true. All of this explains the unaccounted for barriers that minorities undergo and prevent them from climbing up the social hierarchy. This problem plaguing our society can easily be fixed by making all community colleges across the US free and accessible to everyone, and making all state colleges affordable as well. This can be achieved in 3 ways. The first way is by supporting interest groups. Interest groups can influence state policy through lobbying and can also facilitate citizen participation by organizing collective action or informing the public. They can change the state-allocated money towards education, which has roughly been 9% since 1977. Examples of organizations supporting lower tuition costs: a campaign for free college tuition, Justice Democrats, Student Debt Crisis, Higher Learning Advocates, and RISE. The second way of solving this issue is through protest organizing. Local and on-campus campaigns and protests are a great way to make your voice heard and potentially influence legislation for lower tuition rates. And the third and final way is through spreading of information and support. If we all join, this change is bound to happen. A research questioning 1,000 voters, demographically diverse, indicated that 87% agreed that college is too expensive, and 59% stated high tuition as the number one barrier towards college education. 67% said that the government should be doing more to make college more affordable, and 75% of these voters agreed that there should be a policy to cap the price of state-funded colleges, which only to this day 11 states do for 4-year colleges. Money should not be a barrier for college education, as it is not only beneficial for the individual but also for society as a whole.